Hutch herself, Carol Hutchins. How you doing this morning?
Oh, I'm doing great, Sam. How you doing?
We are all on cloud nine still. I'm sure, Coach, you would tell us, hey, it's time to turn the page. But until we talk to you about the last few games, we are allowed to bask in the glow for a little while longer. And I must say, Coach, that your reaction has been the one that's kind of summed up how everyone was feeling. Now, I want to talk about all the games, but I got to start off the crack of the bat. What's going through your head? And then I think I know what you thought when Lindsay caught the ball, because we saw you say, "Oh my God!" But off the crack of the bat, did you think it was gone?
Oh, yes. From my view in the dugout, when she struck the ball, it was gone. I couldn't believe it.
And so at that point, I said, I was talking to my wife. I said, "Boy, Hutch probably had the post game speech going through her head at that time." And then, oh my God, she leaps the wall and catches the ball. Now that's the crescendo. Let's start back at the beginning, Coach, and go back to the very first game that you played down there against San Diego State, and maybe it set the stage for the drama that was going to be at play, because you guys in that game, you led 7-4 going into the seventh inning, and then San Diego State tied it up with 3 runs.
Yeah, that was a rough inning, and really our pitching just, I think, had a bit of a meltdown. I think they got nervous, to be quite honest. And San Diego State's credit, I mean, that game was a shootout from the get-go, but we kind of quelled it in the middle innings, and in the seventh inning, it just got away from us. So we were able to get out of the inning and hang on for the win, but yeah, that was a hairy game.
Right, and then Haley comes up with a big sac fly to win the game. Coach, they made a big point out of talking about how you like having Haley in the lineup from time to time. Certainly, you like having the bat in her hands.
Well, I worked the lineup quite often this year. I'm allowed to make the designated player Abby Ramirez, who I then enter as the second baseman. Mm-hmm. And the number 10 hitter, the flex, who's very often the pitcher, I could put into that spot. And both my pitchers, Haley and Sarah, are capable hitters. They're both capable. So when they're pitching, they can get an at-bat if I want a hitter instead of, a slapper in a situation. So that's literally what we did in that situation. We just needed somebody to get the ball out of the infield. And hey, I believe Abby was 3 for 3 in the game. So it wasn't as simple a call as it might look, but
But it was the right one.
Well, it's the right one when it works.
Right. All right. So right, exactly right, Coach. So you go into game 2, and a lot of talk about Dallas Escovedo, outstanding pitcher, and you guys early in that game, it's like, wow, okay, you guys have it figured out. Your first 3 hitters get on base. Romo knocks in a run, and it looks like maybe you're gonna have some real success against her in that game, and then she just goes on from that point on to kind of lock things down.
Well, we came in attacking her, and the key with Dallas is, she throws up to 70 miles an hour. She's without a doubt one of the best players ever to play the college game, but she's hittable because you don't have to sit on or worry about an off-speed pitch. So the game plan was to get her cuts and swing. Get your swings in. She's gonna work to stay ahead of you. She tries to be efficient, and I didn't think we did that. I thought we took too many pitches, and you're not gonna win by not scoring, and you're not gonna score if you don't swing. So clearly, we got better after that game. Yes,
you did, because you come back and you mercy San Diego State in the next game. 9-1 grand slam from Romo, Megan Betta good in the circle. That's the kind of response that you want to see.
Well, it's the kind of response we needed to have, or we wouldn't be having this conversation today. Mm-hmm. And but yeah, Betta, I thought, had a good game in the circle for us. Still too many pitches, too many walks. We're working to get better, and but she's able to keep them at bay, and our offense took advantage also. But their pitcher It was their second game of the day, and you cannot underestimate the heat down there. It was hot. It was very hot, and that was an evening game, so it was cooler. But it takes its toll on everybody.
We're talking to Michigan softball coach Carol Hutchins here on the Michigan Insider on Sports Talk 1050 WTKA, online at WTK.com. She has her team in the Super Regionals. She's speaking to us live from Tallahassee. So, Coach, that point between games 3 and 4, is that when the stomach flu really started to take hold? Had you been seeing players under the weather before that, or is that when it really hit?
Well, we had one kid, Katie Lukens, who had been feeling well and had to have a trip to the hospital earlier, but that actually was a separate incident. But I found out when I woke up Sunday morning at 7 that both Romo and Coley were going to take a trip to the ER.
Mm.
So, and they'd been up all night, and they were pretty dehydrated. So we thought it was basically heat exhaustion. And, they played through it all night, and we didn't find out until Monday morning because Coley was still so bad we had to take her back that it was actually the flu.
Mm-hmm.
So they said, there's a stomach flu's going around, and by Tuesday morning when we had it again, and we've had it again, so it's been going through our team, and we got out here and we had to separate our kids. We had to put them in separate rooms because we're trying to keep it from. I haven't had any news yet this morning, so no news is good news.
Right. And that was one of the questions that we were talking about this morning. What do you do when you have a segment of your team that's ill and you have close quarters of being on the road? How do you handle that? So you just answered that question right now. You kind of try to keep them separated as much as possible. But in the moment, your players, even the ill, like Romo, they come out and boy, did she come to play. She put her big girl boots on, Coach, and came out there in 100-degree heat and hit one out of the park.
Coley came out and got on base in front of her, and my 2 and 3 hitter came out and put us on the board immediately. And you talk about two tough women. They played that entire game, and they come in and sit in the dugout with cold, wet towels on their head, and they were hurting. They could barely get out there, yet they gave us all they had, and that was plenty. And as I told my trainer, Romo may only be 50-60%, but anybody in the country will take 60% of Romo.
Right, no doubt. Well, Coach, I had my first sort of on the television but in the circle experience because they had the camera in the circle, and boy, could kind of tell that you were ready to see some improvement in the circle, and you made a switch, and Haley responded. Well,
she did, and we needed her to, because when we bring you in, you got a part to do, and it's a different look for the hitters, and you don't have to strike them out, which would be great. We just need you to shut them down.
Yeah, and she did that, and so you guys get that win. It sets up the winner-takes-all final, the one that we already know how it ended. But one of the points that they made before the game, a lot of talk about Romo, obviously, and the illness with her illness and the illness that was kind of going through the lineup. But you said, or at least one of your coaches said, I can't remember which one, that you guys really needed to get Sierra Lawrence going, and she got going at just the right time.
Well, she's had such a cold second half of the season. She's been pretty cold, and she's our 5 hitter, and that's a key RBI spot, especially with Romo, who's on base so much. So, she had a great series down there, and clearly it was the difference maker. It was a difference maker, and she's such a good hitter, and we like her to be more aggressive. I've said it all along. She takes too many pitches. She's too selective, and she lets a lot of opportunity get away from her. But she took her opportunity on Sunday, and she made good on it.
Hey, Coach, you've seen a lot of – you have a World Series under your belt. You've seen a lot of drama-filled moments, drama-filled games, but I'm curious where this one rates, where you get 2 home runs in the final inning at the top, and then you get a robbery of a home run for the final out to send you to the next round. Where does that rate in the great moments in in your career?
Well, yeah, as I told my boss, Dave Brandon, the next day when I spoke on the phone, I said, I'm going to tell you what, the greatest memory of that whole evening was on the bus ride back to the hotel. I have never been on that bus. We could have propelled the bus itself. We didn't need to turn the key on. The energy and the elation on the bus was a memory that I'll never forget. Those kids will never forget. They were so excited and so proud of themselves. But yeah, that inning, that's one of the best things I can ever remember.
Yeah, and what an unbelievable catch. It was ESPN's top play. And turns out, there was a little coaching. I mean, I certainly, Lindsey's athletic ability made the play, but there was a little coaching that said, hey, you got to climb the wall.
Well, Bonnie had just moved her back also. There's a lot of coaching going on in that dugout. We position kids, we move them in, we move them over, we move them out, we move them in. And yes, Bonnie had just hollered that out to her. I mean, it's the number 3 hitter, and she's a great player. Amber Freeman can hit the ball. She's a known, I don't know how many home runs she had going into that, but our concern once Alex Johnson got on base was this game is the winning run is now at the plate.
Mm-hmm.
And this kid is capable of hitting it out. So the fact when she struck it the way she did, I told you, I thought the game was over. And the game was over. I just didn't know which way it was going.
Right. And so now you're in Tallahassee in the Super Regional, and, everyone's extremely excited. But, there's a task at hand. You got an outstanding team. Saw on ESPN this pitcher, Lacey Waldrop, is outstanding. Kind of tell us what Florida State brings to the table.
Florida State's having the best year they've had in a long time, and the reason is Lacey Waldrop. She's a really capable pitcher, and she doesn't throw the ball over 63 miles an hour ever, and that's what makes her so special. Is she's got 3 different speeds at minimum, and she off-speeds you to death. She can throw at 44, she can throw at 54, she can throw at 57, and then she'll whip it by you at 63. And she's a finesse pitcher. She's very efficient. She hits her location, and she's tough. Her ERA is at .90, and that is unheard of today. A few years back, that was a normal ERA. These days, that is not normal. And the average ERA in college softball is about 1.7, close to 2. So she's a tough task. And then they've got Maddie O'Brien, their shortstop, who was a Player of the Year candidate herself. They've got their own fine shortstop. And really, they're just a very solid team all the way around. They've got good defense. They've got a good offense and a couple of great speedsters, and of course Maddie O'Brien's power hitter, and they hit down through the order. But they're the toughest person on that team is in the circle, and we've got a tough opponent.
Well, folks, you have an opportunity to watch it live. First game is tonight, 7 o'clock on ESPN. You can see the Wolverines go back to battle, this time with Florida State. Well, Coach, it's been a thrill ride, and let's hope that thrill ride keeps going on. Thanks a lot for calling us from down there in Tallahassee. Hopefully we hear some good news on the health front heading into the game.
Well, that's just one of our concerns. We've been pretty sick, and we're a little weaker on the edges. We really had to take it easy this week. But once that game starts, we know our adrenaline's going to kick in, and our kids are going to give it all they have.
All right. Well, Coach, thanks a lot as always. Really appreciate you taking out the time this morning, and we'll talk to you again next week, and hopefully we're talking about moving on yet again.
All right. Thanks, Sam.
All right. That was Michigan softball coach Carol Hutchins.